Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Hult International Business School's webinar series. Tonight's episode is Sustainability and Social Enterprise. My name is Darren Lockery, and I'm the Associate Director of Enrollment for the MBA at Hult. Joining me tonight is Ahmad Ashkar, who is a Hult MBA alum and also the CEO and co-founder of the Hult Prize. Ahmad graduated from Hult in 2010, which is actually the same year that he founded the Hult Prize. He's currently sitting on the board of the UN Development Program and is heading innovation using his areas of expertise, which include innovation and strategy, new market entry, and global expansion. So for those of you that are learning more about the Hult Prize through this webinar, it's actually grown to be the world's largest millennial startup movement for social good and is the only student competition of its size. Business students from all over the globe each year come together to compete to solve the world's most pressing issues. And the winning team is awarded $1 million in seed capital to move forward with their initiative. Recently partnered with President Bill Clinton and the Clinton Global Initiative, and is now sponsored by Hult. So tonight, Ahmad is going to walk us through sustainability today and where he sees it heading in the future, and how it relates specifically to the world of entrepreneurship. And finally, at the end of tonight's webinar, we'll allow for some time for Q&A. And I would also like to share some new details regarding a new initiative at Hult, the Clinton Scholars. So at the end of the presentation, we'll make sure that we get into that. Ahmad, take it away.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time. Just get set up. Good. Well, welcome to everybody. Really appreciate you guys being on the webinar this evening. I think it's a really exciting time in the world of sustainability, social entrepreneurship, really something that I call and that we're calling here at the Hult Prize, the impact enterprise. And I'm excited to really hopefully be able to provide you with a couple of key kind of pieces of information about what's going on in the sector, and as well as inspire you guys to take up activities that, in my opinion, will shape the next millennia in itself. So a little bit about myself. I am, as the great introduction, thank you for that. I'm currently on the board of the UNDP. I am the CEO and founder of the Hult Prize Foundation, and I sit on the boards of multiple different social enterprises and startups around the world. And it's exciting. I get to now, since starting the Hult Prize, actually sit on a number of different international startup competitions, like the MIT Pan Arab and 100K and others like that. And it's so refreshing and inspiring to see so many young social entrepreneurs, and again, I'll talk about the gray line within that as I progress through the presentation. But it's just an unbelievable phenomenon what we're seeing today. Obviously, I'm a graduate, a proud alumni of Hult International Business School. I was lucky enough to be selected Alumni of the Year. I'm very proud of that. Out of all my achievements, that's something that I cherish the most. And then, of course, we began through the Hult Prize, working with a number of different institutions around the world and in the U.S. Amongst those, I serve as an advisor to the Economic Policy Division at George Mason, and more info on the background obviously available on Google. So for today, I really wanted to take us through 5 key points. And within those, obviously, I want to start and discuss why sustainability is important. And I also will define for you a little bit about sustainability. There's often a little bit of a gray line when you start talking about sustainability versus social enterprise, or even an impact investment fund. So I really want to kind of walk you through the basics on why really this term is so important, and how all of these areas, as described, are so critical to really moving our generation into one which kind of moves from being a looking at the poor and non-sustainable initiatives instead of looking at them as problems, looking at them as opportunities. I'll talk to you just briefly about the Hult Prize. Tons of information, hultprize.org or otherwise, so I won't spend a lot of time talking about the mechanics of the Hult Prize. Happy to do so at the Q&A, but I think my time better spent talking about more so trends and keeping on task. And then I'll just briefly touch on global opportunities. And then I think, that my fourth topic is going to be the most important of today, which is the millennial generation consumer. And I'll touch on why are you guys all with me? All right, I'm assuming I'm gonna start over. Give me 1 second, gang. I don't know if it's possible that I've been presenting to Ghost for the last 6 minutes. Hold on for me 1 second, please, while I recalibrate.
Ahmad?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. It looks like we could all hear you, and we are currently viewing your screen. So if you just enlarge the presentation to full screen, we can see it all.
How far along did you guys get? Have you heard me give my intro and start yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. I got a little alert which told me nobody was hearing anything, so I will then continue.
Great.
Good. Thanks for coming on and saving the day. I hate one-sided webinars. So anyway, let me jump back into this. So what I was nope, don't do that. Okay, and we're back in business. So what I was on with point 4 was the millennial generation consumer. So a lot of question comes up as to what's the business policies of the future. What are the businesses of the future? How is government playing a role in future services, products, and how is the millennial generation responding? Oftentimes, if you ask the Fortune 100 their opinion of a millennial employee, they'll tell you often they feel entitled, they're lazy, they want to be promoted, on day one. But the reality is the millennial generation consumer is actually shifting and changing the way that the corporation of the future needs to behave. And I'll talk to you a little bit about point 5, where what really the future for the sector and what the future for all of you means. So, kind of where is sustainability? Why is it important? Well, everybody, these are, again, what used to be pictures of either megacities, urban slums, or just crowded infill urban areas. We're seeing these now pop up all over the world. The question is why? As you have more and more people moving towards cities and outside of rural areas, and again, why are people moving? They're moving for economic opportunity. Everybody just wants the chance to make money, earn revenue, and have the opportunity to take care and feed their family and loved ones. And what's happening is you're having a massive amount of migration happening within these cities, and it's happening at such a rapid pace that a lot of times either those that make it to the city and are unsuccessful might end up in an urban slum type environment, which you see up there on the top left corner, or you see these mega cities literally cropping up where the infrastructure in place does not have enough resources to take care of all of its people. So in both of those scenarios, you're trying to really understand where the kind of the balance point is between a government's responsibility and the private sector's responsibility to come up with more and more social services that can help, again, mitigate some of this overcrowdedness. And our Hult Prize Challenge fact this year is on crowded urban spaces, and not focusing on how do I get social products and services to this base, but how do I actually provide economic opportunities? Because we know that the majority of these people living in these crowded spaces today, the number is anywhere from 1.2 to 1.5 billion, set to double in the next decade or so. How are we going to, as a society, either look to consume better, or how do we look to pull more people out of these negative economic conditions that are being caused by non-sustainable activities from the corporate sector, private sector, and again, inefficient spending from the public sector. So if you look at, the idea of sustainability in terms of social, and again, we're calling this session the Impact Enterprise, where we are currently focusing on the Hult Prize, and what you find a lot of other organizations, which are, again, bridging the gap between nonprofit and for-profit, you've got really 7 to 8 kind of key areas to focus on to really be able to create a society which is, again, has enough production for the consumption demanded, and be able to really, again, create the sustainable place to live and an environment for all. And again, those are broken down here on this slide. From our perspective, we're looking at ED, which is education, mental health, shelter, food and water, access to capital, which oftentimes gets overlooked, transportation and energy. And again, I'll focus a little bit on access to capital, but it's a lot of times not just having a microfinancing solution. That's a very static kind of solution that you see thrown around, and the term thrown around, but you're really looking at how do I better connect people to capital solutions, and not necessarily connect the capital solutions to the people. So again, it's not a static, because that you can have the best microfinance solution in place, but if, again, I can't get the transportation to get from point A to point B, I'm going to have some long-term challenges. And again, this is what I touched on earlier on this slide here. You're going to look at, if we look at these urban environments and we look at the need for sustainability, whose responsibility is it? And the challenge that we...
Hi,
yes.
Sorry, I'm so sorry to interject. I just noticed that you were shifting slides, and there seems to be a technical difficulty, so we're not seeing those slides change on our end.
What are you guys seeing now?
So we're just seeing the presentation, which still hasn't been expanded to the full view. It's that first slide with sustainable and social enterprise, the intro slide. So I don't know if on screen sharing, does it say that you're sharing your screen?
It does. Let's go back. Let's try it this way. How about now?
No, still not seeing it.
Okay. Sorry, folks. All right, let's try again.
Okay, something just shifted.
Do you guys see screen now?
So I just saw your mouse move, which is a good sign.
Let's see.
So are you currently on the intro slide?
I am on the intro slide. Let me go to the next slide so you can see. I'm now on an agenda slide?
Yeah, so it's not shifting. Oddly, we can see your mouse move, but it won't go from one slide to the next. Oh, okay. Now it's, okay, we have you up, so you're on the agenda. Excellent.
All right, let's see Perfect. If it moves. Is it moving?
Yes. Okay. So again, everyone, apologies for the technical difficulties, but it looks like we are now hearing and seeing everything. So thanks, Ahmad.
Okay, good. Good. No worries. So this is the slide hopefully you guys could visualize when I was talking about crowded spaces. This is again, human visualization map of some of the core areas that we believe, again, problems that we often view as related with the issues around sustainability. And as I was going into the next slide, again, assuming you guys can all see this, we're looking at where is the intersection between the government responsibility to provide solutions versus an NGO's responsibility to do it. And what you have is, again, the point of sustainability, we need to look at it from two sides, not just the supply side. And oftentimes nonprofits, and this is the kind of struggle that nonprofits have, is you're looking strictly at supply side. And what I mean by supply side, folks, is you're looking at how do I get clean water to those in again, crowded, how do I do it more sustainably? How do I save costs? How do I become more efficient at things? And unfortunately, that's just not enough. And what we've done at the Hult Prize, we've unlocked, how can we now change these challenges and all these problems that we look at when we talk about these crowded spaces and urbanization happening. And we believe that models like the Hult Prize have cracked the code. A little bit about the Hult Prize, for those who don't know, we are thrilled that we're changing the conversations around the world around now what we're calling demand solutions. President Clinton has recognized us as one of the top 5 ideas changing the world. And again, a couple of quotes, but the way we see it is that solving the world's toughest challenges and the issues of sustainability are not just problems, and they're not just the right thing to do. They actually can transmit into great business. And as Professor Muhammad Yunus, one of our close advisors, says to us, all it takes is one prototype, one business, and that's the start of changing the world. And again, some great accolades we've been able to achieve with this model is, we're getting attention, whether it be, in the Middle East, North America, in scholarly publications or mainstream newspapers, you're starting to find a very wide-scale adoption. We've been doing what we do from 2009 and evangelizing the ideas that I'm sharing here with you today in an effort to really move the needle and move the conversation. And I'm just going to skip through this next slide because this is, again, more Hult Prize, and I want to be cognizant of your time, but in general, we issue this great challenge every year. 25,000 students from around the world respond to this amazing challenge, which we write and describe every year. President Clinton issues this unbelievable kind of stretch target, and we field startups. We ask business-minded people who have probably never thought about creating a sustainable enterprise, an impact enterprise, as we define it, or a social enterprise, to dream up wild ideas and innovations, and we see them through a World Cup style competition, eventually awarding $1 million in seed capital. But why does this work? And this is the point in my general talks, which everybody should really get their notebooks out and really kind of understand, and hopefully I can give you a little bit of a nugget of information that will allow you to take some of this content and use it and apply it to your everyday uses, whether it's starting a business or going back to school or even in the workplace. But again, startups are not easy, and what we try to do is we shortcut entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurship cycle. And again, this is through our kind of program. But now fast forwarding to these opportunities, as I was going to discuss, why is all this important? Yes, point one, urbanization. People are moving into cities. Point 2 is if I look at this map, which is on the screen now, this is a Brookings Institute report that was done in partnership with the World Bank. Again, this is focusing on, I know majority of the callers here from North America, but if you look at the opportunities on an international perspective, the darker blue areas are number of startup applications, essentially new business licenses filed in that demographic. And as you go lighter to gray, you have zero activity. So again, as you look at the world of globalization, you've got pretty much in every corner of the world, with the exception of North America, the opportunity to really innovate, be creative, and come up with solutions to a wide number of these problems. And again, for our North America folks out there, one of the best ways to bring new innovation to the U.S. side and Canada is to look at reverse innovation, because I'm sure that if you can solution to a crowded space issue or sustainability issue in parts of MENA or East Asia, and you can drive costs down, economic productivity up, revenue up, and bring those models back to the U.S., you will be able to disrupt the market. And a number of our startups at Hult Prize, while they might set up shop overseas, you have an unbelievable amount of them which are coming back to the U.S. to launch the same exact product or service in the U.S. marketplace. And again, this is back to the original human needs slide, which is basically now it's a new kind of enterprise. Instead of looking at these issues as problems, let's look at them as opportunities. So what is a impact enterprise or social enterprise 2.0, or again, not the conventional term of social enterprise that maybe some of you have been accustomed to. For us, they have three main characteristics. And to create the sustainable enterprise of the future, you need to have these three core competencies. You need to be market-driven, you need to be impact-centered, and you need to be profit-minded. And again, we believe that if you keep these three pillars at the core of business, and again, whether you're creating a company or whether you're implementing policy at your existing company, this is where the future is going in terms of the enterprise. And I'm going to get a little bit in detail about why it's the case, but just to make to kind of hammer it home, profit-minded means that every decision you make to be sustainable. You're not making financial loss decisions because your mission is outweighing that of your business savvy. On the flip side of that, you're impact-centered. So again, while you are profit-minded, you are not going to take advantage. So you're never going to exploit. You will never, come up with a business model which is not geared towards having impact. And then, of course, being market-driven. The market-driven aspect of this is critical because when you're market-driven, you are solving one of those mega challenges, which I tried to describe before. But most importantly, you're making sure that you're developing a robust, competitive business or business practices that is going to have a market demand for its product. This chart probably needs a Q&A session. It's tough to do in a one-way webinar, but in short, what you're looking at is a comparison between traditional social enterprise, which focuses on supply side and driving costs down, versus what we call the Hult Prize equilibrium, which is looking at demand side business opportunities. And demand side is saying, look, it's not just about bringing costs down, but it's about bringing incomes up. Because if I can bring incomes up, I can naturally bring the market to an equilibrium point where people can afford to buy products and services. Now, the issue of measurement often comes up when you talk sustainability, and there's between 17 and 100 or so metrics, depending on the organization, that people look at to say whether or not you're being quote-unquote sustainable. For us at the Hult Prize, call it what you want, we look at one. We look at dollar. Not because we're capitalistic. We hate capitalism. But what we call it is capitalism with a cause. We believe the world is a place, and again, I don't agree with this, but dollars and cents is what drives people's MOs. And while not everybody, it's the corporation, the government, and even NGOs are looking at whether I'm saving money or spending money. The reality is the one metric in today's society, until the day comes where we can remit impact for currency, which we will be able to do, I believe, in the next decade, we think the only measurement is really dollars. And I'm going to go back two slides, and I'm going to tell you the reason we think that is because we believe it's about the inputs, not the outputs. So if your inputs follow market-driven, profit-minded, and impact-centered, then naturally every dollar in revenue you make will be made according to the ethos of the way you design your company and your offering, whether it be a product or a service. And that's the exciting part, is that as long as you're living on the intersection of these three, yes, it's great to measure other things in terms of outputs, but get your inputs right, because it's, being an impact enterprise, the enterprise of the future, is not just about results. It's about how you get to those results as well. Now, why does it pay off to be sustainable? Well, again, as I said in my intro, the millennial generation is creating huge problems and opportunities for corporations, because the demand and change, the demand in the impact for the impact enterprise is growing. Our generation does no longer care solely about P&L. We care about more, and I'm going to take you through some data. And here's some great companies of the world who you've seen adapt to that. And those that adapt and change and pivot you'll see in the next decade and beyond. And some others that are on today's Global 100 list, you're not going to see in the next decade. And I think these great companies, Patagonia, Nestle, Coca-Cola, IKEA, Unilever, while they all haven't got it right if you look backwards a decade, but if you look at today, they've all made major corporate decisions to change both their policy as well as their actual delivery and design and manufacturing of products and services to accommodate for the shifting trend in the millennial generation's thirst for the more sustainable enterprise. And one example I always like to bring up is in Unilever. If you do for any of the bankers out there, I was a former investment banker, and this stat, I used to keep it in my slides, but some folks told me it's too confusing. But it's exciting. If you look at the price to earnings ratio, and for those that are not bankers, basically the value of the company compared to how much money it actually makes. Some might call it goodwill, brand value, et cetera, et cetera. Unilever's over the last decade has focused, and Paul Polman's a great supporter of the Hult Prize, and he's a great supporter of this entire sector, CEO of Unilever. And he said when he took over that he was going to focus not on share price, not on maximizing shareholder value, which, again, probably every business school in the world teaches today, except for Hult, of course, being biased. But he's going to focus on impact. And by focusing on impact, while profits did not necessarily grow at the rate that they had historically at Unilever, revenues also did not grow at the percentages. The stock price went up. And this is a very important case study in looking at sustainability, because what Paul Polman demonstrated was stock value can go up based on your company's dedication to both sustainability and impact. This has been revolutionary for the industry because, again, thinking about this with a capitalism with cause lens, you realize that anything that drives stock price up, shareholders will accept, right? And so be it that now focusing on impact and sustainability is going to drive up shareholder value. Great. And stock price, great. So let's have more companies do it, and many corporations has followed. Now the science behind it, right? And it's all about rethinking the consumer and rethinking the millennial. And this is some of the most exciting data, and given that we've had hundreds of thousands of millennials come through the Hult Prize, we're really lucky in that we're able to survey and collect data and refine that data. And we've come up with some supporting evidence that basically will, again, if you're looking at the corporations like the Patagonias, Nestle's, et cetera, you're able to say, wow, they're able to focus on impact and still continue, again, meeting their fiscal responsibilities. It all makes sense once you begin rethinking the consumer. So today's consumer and the consumer even of the next generation has changed, and their behaviors on which brands they choose, which companies they go work for, has all changed. And here's the data that supports it. So if you start on the left, you're going to look at 9 out of 10. This is, again, surveyed, primary research done by our team here at the Hult Prize. But you're looking at 9 out of 10 consumers from the millennial generation seek out brands which provide not only products that improve their lives, but improve that of society. Now, if you look at the last number, which is 60%, 60% of those are willing to pay more for sustainable products. So not only as a corporation or a company of the future does it, again, remember what I said, doing good is not just the right thing to do. It's good business today, right? You've got 60% are willing to pay a premium for it. Now, of course, working back from right to left, the 2-to-1 ratio, yes. Is it true in developing markets over Western markets to favor sustainable goods and service? The answer, unfortunately, is yes. I know this is a North America call, but the reality is when you live amongst those that require and demand and thirst for sustainable innovation, you find that our generation is going to be more receptive in those markets to their brands. However, you still have 75%, again, of the millennials, which will purchase more products that are environmentally as long as they are competitive. So even though you've only got 60% that will actually pay a premium, 3 out of 4 will go ahead and pay as long as, again, will choose as long as they are more competitive. And again, next slide is just showing you kind of the global economy. A recent report from McKinsey called The Consumer Decision Journey. Again, I extracted this quote: if marketing has one goal, it's to reach consumers at the moments that most influence their decisions. It appears very clearly, whether it be from our data or anyone else's, that being, again, sustainable, a sustainable facing enterprise is going to attract more customers. And while we wish the entire world, irrespective of sector, company, and industry, would operate that way, the reality is now the millennial generation is causing the market to shift, corporations to shift. As those pivots are happening, you now have to ask yourself, am I prepared to go work for the company of the future? And on the flip side of that, does the company of the future, are they prepared for me as the millennial, as the forward sustainability-facing millennial looking for a new opportunity? I was brought into to Columbus, Ohio, recently, and I met with a number of CEOs. For those of you, I don't know if anyone from Ohio is on the call. I used to live there many moons ago, but I was floored when these group of CEOs, they brought me in because they were having a huge challenge. Columbus is probably second or third most populated university town in the United States, and more than 7 or 8 Fortune 500 companies are all headquartered there. But they were facing a huge dilemma in that they were losing their talent pool of university students. The top students were not staying local. And obviously those great companies of the world are headquartered there because of this abundance of human capital. And they weren't sure why. They're saying, we're the best company. We're some of the best companies in the world. We're paying premium salaries. We're offering great signing bonuses. But for some reason, we're not attracting the best talent. Our talent is actually leaving, whether they're going international, West Coast, East Coast. And what we found was very clear is that these young-minded graduates were not going to choose whether Limited or anyone else to go work for because of a great check. They wanted more. And the more is impact. And again, I've got a pursuit of impact speech that I give regularly. Those of you that will be around, just any type of impact conference or UN summit, check. It's mind blowing, the millennial generation's pursuit of legacy. And if you can't either offer that as an employer or pursue that as a millennial looking to hire, you will be definitely short, whether on the corporation side or on the millennial side. So, the golden question: how do we get there? Well, from the corporation perspective, what we're promoting to the corporations who are looking at, how do we build a more sustainable impact enterprise? How do we look at, again, more and more investment to be able to reap a return on the investment? We're looking at, 4 great things. And again, for those of you that might be in the workforce still today and have not yet made your decision to leave, take this to your corporations. But it's 4 key pillars. It's, research, training, certification, rankings, and celebration. Again, innovation. If you're on the flip side of that, if you're looking to create your next big startup and you're wondering where to start, I've broken it down into kind of 3 very simple kind of pillars. Identify trends, provide for basic human need, and develop simple and proven business models. And for the sake of time, I want to keep a good amount of time Q&A. I won't go into detail, too much detail, but if you can combine these 3 things, you're well on your way to a radical, sustainable impact enterprise. And again, a lot of people talk about what is sustainable innovation. For me, it's very easy. Solve problems, create new rules, and innovate across the entire value chain. Don't just come up with a new product or service. Figure out a new way to make it, a new way to package it, a new way to deliver it. And the middle point in create new rules, a lot of times when you're operating and you're looking for robust innovation, you'll get stuck in one of 2 categories. Following rules, which oftentimes keep you in the status quo, or breaking rules because you're pushing the limits of possibility, whether in the workplace or in your garage, building a startup. Both of those are, will get you in trouble. One will literally get you into, either legal or financial trouble, or in the second one will keep you as stagnant as the guy next door. So really, the kind of methodology we live by is create new rules, and this is a lot of, for those of you in the books, Blue Ocean Strategy. It's looking at new ways to do new things, and oftentimes there is no rules. When I launched the Hult Prize, there wasn't a playbook. When we decided to challenge some of the traditional, matriarch institutions in the sector, which said charity is charity, business is business, nobody gave us a playbook. So we had to write our own, and I'm a big advocate of that. What is the innovation value chain? Again, how do I make products? How do I offer them? How do I deliver them? How do I get them from point A to point B? And what markets do I want to play in? I told you guys you'd need your notebooks, but hopefully we can make some of this content available for you guys offline. And again, for those that say, hey, you're never going to be a unicorn, blah, 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 I say tell the story of the Silicon Valley. Unicorns are very important. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, you're talking about the Facebooks, the big home runs, the WhatsApps, et cetera, companies that are so disruptive that they really change the way that things were done before them. Again, Starbucks, like nobody drank coffee and paid $4 for a coffee before the days of Starbucks. Flat screen TVs, the Texas Instruments and their lamp business, DLPs, are done. They're extinct. And how do you come up with the next big idea that can lead to the next big company that is again, it's such a great innovation that there is no second. And unicorns are important for building ecosystems. So this is the story of Silicon Valley, undisputed heavyweight champion of the startup ecosystem in the world. But what a lot of people don't know is that Silicon Valley was started a handful of years ago. You're talking 58 years ago, or 59 now. A former Nobel Prize winner, a nuclear physicist, made his way to California because his mom was sick, and he came up with a semiconductor company, which later became the Fairchild Semiconductor Company. And if you look at this graph I have on the screen, you'll see that over the next course of 58 years, 92 companies worth $2.1 trillion in value emerged. That's what happens when a founder, so the original 8 founders went on to each create 1 or 2 companies, which led to this massive ecosystem, which we now know as Silicon Valley, spawned Apple, Hewlett-Packard, Nortec, Caltech, Kleiner Perkins, and many, many, many others. So, what we do at Hult Prize, we give $1 million to one winner, and a lot of people say to us, hey, you should split the pot, you should, and we say no. We say what we're looking for are unicorn disruptions, which can spark entire ecosystems. And in 5 decades, if we can create with the ecosystems that we're launching through some of our activities, something that looks, 10 basis points as good as Silicon Valley does, we'll call ourselves successful. Again, these are just a handful of some of our great impact enterprises we've launched. We have the largest company in the world producing the alternative to traditional proteins. They process and produce hundreds of different kinds of insect protein. For those of you that are saying, ooh, disgusting, well, even traditional protein like cattle and chicken consumes food. In fact, 70-80% of the cost of most livestock is the food that consumes. We're able to bring those costs down to literally cents on the dollar through our animal feed products. Sunny Money, largest solar light distributor, they were a winner 2012. Even some of the companies that don't win, all receiving funding, getting to market. So anyway, that's all I have. This is me. My Twitter handle is Ask Ashkar, and I think I'm at 42 minutes, so I want to leave a little bit of time for some Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you, Ahmad. So as we open it up to Q&A, I did just want to touch on the Clinton Scholars again. We are really excited to announce this opportunity. It is the inaugural class of Clinton Scholars, which will be selected by the Hult Admissions Committee. And if selected, you'll have the chance to attend the Hult Prize finals at the Clinton Global Initiative Conference, which takes place annually in New York City. And you'll also join our professors to help write the President's Challenge for the upcoming Hult Prize 2017. And finally, even interview for a Hult Prize Foundation internship. So this is an amazing opportunity. It's the first year, again, that we're offering this. And if interested in becoming a Clinton Scholar, you do need to apply before March 13th. And please contact your admissions officer if you would like to be considered and if you have any further questions. So as we open it up to Q&A for Ahmad, if you do see Ahmad, for the attendees, if you pull down that drop list, you'll see several people have questions. And you'll actually be able to click on one of the orange question marks next to a person's name and go to the questions pane. And then you'll see several different questions that come up. Some of them were connected to technical difficulties that we had a little earlier on, that there are some questions that I see coming up that are connected to your presentation.
Great. Let me see, where do I start? I'll start from the bottom, I guess. So I've got Nick Rifkin. Firstly, congratulations to Hult Prize. Thank you. I was curious, how might your 3-point sustainability approach differ when applied to the nonprofit sector, given the differences in operation financial structure between nonprofit and for-profit companies? So thanks for your great question and compliment, Nick. I think that I am a believer in the nonprofit enterprise, and I am a believer in the traditional nonprofit enterprise approach when it comes to natural disasters, emergency response, water shortages, etc. What we call, disaster relief and recovery. But I will say that the approach that I've discussed today, when you're looking at building sustainable enterprise, whether or not you're in the nonprofit sector, or the for-profit sector, what you call ourselves. I mean, for us, the Hult Prize, we're a 501c3, Massachusetts registered nonprofit foundation. However, the operating models that we have in place, may not look traditionally like, again, a relief organization. So I do think, irrespective, you can apply the model, and the model really should be the one of again, being market-driven. And whatever it is you do, as long as you're market-driven, you'll never leave your beneficiary hanging. And that's the worry when you're a donation-based nonprofit, is because the day you don't get the donation, the really person that gets negatively impacted is your beneficiary. We're just looking at beneficiaries as customers instead. Do you have a current Hult? Do you have to be a current Hult student to participate in the Hult Prize or Clinton Scholar? That's a question that came up. Definitely, the Hult Prize. We have thousands of different universities, students competing every year. I will say the Hult students, and again, giving you kind of a non-biased approach, along with another 200 to 300 universities out there, do hold specific type of programming to qualify. They have preliminary rounds where they host Hult Prize events on campus. Those universities tend to do the best in the Hult Prize. And the second point of your question, Clinton Scholar, can non-Hult students be Clinton Scholars?
So actually that is just for the incoming class of both MBA and master's students at Hult that are currently residing in Canada or the United States. So in order to be nominated and join us in the Clinton Scholars, you will need to be an incoming Hult student.
There you go. Okay, somebody I think was just saying they could hear me. Awesome. Okay. Hello. Yes. Sorry, I'm going through the questions. Okay. I'm curious about Ahmad's data in regards to millennials. Is this data in reference to international millennials or millennials from North America and Western markets? Great question. The data is from Hult Prize primary data. About 25% of that data is coming from the U.S. Another 15% of that data is going to come from Canada. So almost half, 60-40, international versus North America, which you'll see where we got the data on the emerging market statistics and the U.S. Statistics being less. Right now, in terms of specific social, and again, you have to look at the data which we've collected from those. Obviously, they've put their hat in the ring for the Hult Prize, so they're coming into this with obviously a little bit of more of a social impact mindset. However, they are trend centers on campus, so we believe this data, again, it's so large that we have enough of a sample pool to use and make decisions on that data. But great question. Thank you. Let's see here. Are they still coming at the end? Because I worked backwards. Okay. Can entrepreneurship truly be taught? That's a great question. I'm of the kind of school of thought, yes, to some people, right? So, is everybody meant to be an entrepreneur? No. Sorry. That's life. It's a gene that some people, some people have, some people don't have. It's like I played college football, and they always said, you can't teach speed, but I can teach you to be if you're fast, I can teach you to be a great, wide receiver, running back, or defensive back. So I think that's very important. Definitely, you can apply entrepreneurial mindset to different problems. But I'm definitely, and again, I think I've seen enough people. But the caveat to that is that you should know if you don't have, the entrepreneurial kind of, again, we call it grit. There's a great PhD over at University of Pennsylvania, Angela Duckworth, who's come up with this great model around what she calls grit, and it's the intangibles that make some people successful in their activities and others not. However, the caveat is that even if you don't possess the grit, if I can teach you what skill sets you need to be a successful entrepreneur and you realize you don't have them, you're being an entrepreneur by putting together a team of people that do. So again, I think it's a loaded question, but I'm kind of on both sides. Again, if you have some of the natural God-given gifts, we can teach you to do it. But even if you don't, if you learn the techniques, then you can always assemble a team that will allow you to do it. Will Loudon's my new best friend. You rock! Exclamation points. That's awesome. Okay, let me see if I can catch back up with the questions. Great question on can you teach? Okay, Mike left. Those who don't win the Hult Prize, are they just as successful as the winners in terms of making money and meeting the demand of the consumers? Today they are. That's been true for the last 3 cycles. Early on, when we were just getting started back in 2009, our winners got all of our support. Not saying that the others, couldn't have been successful, but we were still kind of figuring out this sector and this business. And the type of people coming into the space was also a little bit different. And you've seen an evolution. When we launched in 2009, I founded the Hult Prize because I had never heard of the word social enterprise, and I had never thought that combining business and nonprofit was possible. I didn't even think it was, it existed. And, if you look at the advent today of the sector, it's a buzzword on every college campus in North America and beyond. And we like to think we played a pivotal role in that. But the reality is today, if I look at just this past cohort of Hult Prize startups, 5 of the 6 received at least $200,000 worth of funding. All 6 teams got into the field, got pilots off the ground. 5 of the 6 are operational still today. Previous year, 4 out of 6, and the year before that, 3 out of 6. So we're continuing to do more and more also as an organization to support all of our winners, and we're getting better. Our incubators changed from the day we launched it 36 months ago to today. We're working on some more funding opportunities for the Hult Prize, startup finalists, and most importantly, teams are getting started a lot earlier because it doesn't matter what school you go to, you always get a chance to run and organize your own local Hult Prize event on campus. And again, getting more university administration involved, more corporations involved. Our judges and advisor network spans over 1,000 companies in 142 countries, including some of the CEOs of the top companies who are now, hand-holding and mentoring a lot of the winners and non-winners. So that's provided some great support for our non-winners. What have you found to be the most successful approach to actively engaging millennials in supporting a given cause, mission, company, or organization? Thanks, Nick. Great question. For me, the best approach, it's not unlike any other with the millennial generation. Most people want to do what's in, what's cool, etc. And for us, we've done our damnedest to make sure that this sector, again, feels like the same, star power that, coming up with the next big tech startup would have. So, we throw great parties. We have great events. We have great mentors. We don't make it feel like a charity kind of, bootstrapping charity kind of process for any of our participants in the Hult Prize. We really think that if you want to change the world, you need to get the world's best and brightest involved and engaged. And you need to get people that never really considered a life in sustainable impact enterprise and get them to throw their hat in the ring, because we've seen with the last century of traditional minded folks going into the space. We need more rock stars. So we feel like if we can make more rock stars out of those startups which come through, like Mo Ashur, who launched Aspire Food Group, the insect company I had shared with you a little bit. I mean, he's a rock star. He's getting speech requests every other day. He just received McGill's Alumni, all-time Alumni recipient award. Those kind of accolades and achievements really help make this idea more than just something on paper for millennials, but something that is real. And then, of course, the creation of more opportunities for millennials to engage. So thank you, Nick. Okay, great. Let me come down. It says also, when a student attends Hult, how do they pick their teams? Great question, Brandon. Again, I'm not sure exactly the way they do it at Hult International Business School, but in years past, and the way they do it at a lot of the other universities out there is, teams will form around the topic that's issued. We issue a different topic and challenge every year. And, there's a series, most every university will hold some kind of a social or a networking event, everything from different color stickers on your ID badge indicating you're a finance expert or kind of a marketing expert, and, different teams. Because at Hult Prize, it's very important that teams are not only geographically diverse when they come together from different nations, but also have different technical expertise and startup experience. So I think putting teams together, it's probably the same way that's done everywhere. Thank you, Alan, for the great comments. Alexander, awesome presentation, awesome prize. Thank you. Has the Hult Prize ever failed? In other words, do you have examples of social enterprises who have won or participated in the Hult Prize and have failed in their impact, haven't had the impact they expected? How have they learned from this? Are these failures shared among the community? Failure is inevitable, and learning as a society make us more successful. Yeah, great question. I don't even need to take you to our own social enterprises, but in 2012, about 3 years after I had launched the Hult Prize, I thought I had failed in launching. I was about ready to throw in the towel. We had developed this great idea for this program that I thought was revolutionary and that would change the world, but our startups kept failing, and that's why I said in our early years, outside of the winner, we didn't have too many successes. So that was big for us, and I was very close to telling our Bertil Hult, who's the benefactor of Hult International Business School, and the famous Swedish entrepreneur, who's one of the top businessmen in the world, who funds the Hult Prize Foundation. About ready to tell him, I quit, I give up, because we weren't seeing the success of what we were doing. But I think in failure there is so much learning, and for us, we really went back to the drawing board and we redesigned a good amount of our program. And the three key takeaways for anyone from those failures was, one, especially as a founder, it's very difficult to say you're wrong and you need help. So I think that's important when you're able to see kind of holistic and take yourself. I always say, like founder syndrome. A lot of people who have great ideas, they fail to really see reality the way it is. Second is find great mentors and great supporters of your cause, and that's what I personally did. I went back to our network and actually the president of Hult Business School, and I got back together. I said, how can we leverage the international network a little bit better? How can we do more together to be able to reshape this program? And then third, I went out to a lot of industry professionals who had created their own startups and were running great companies, and said, what more can we do to support our entrepreneurs so that they can be successful? And we began, we created this pedagogy, which I've shared with you today, which is creating enterprises that really focused on the intersection of market-driven, profit-minded, and impact-centered. And through that, the results were unbelievable. And the year that we implemented the new program, Aspire Food was the winner. And the first time I met the team, I've gotten this feeling only a handful of times, but I knew whether or not they won the Hult Prize that they would be game changing. And as a result of Aspire Food Group, today the world's food crisis is looking a lot better than it did before a world without Aspire Food. They're game changing. The United Nations just called them a company that was likely to eliminate the food crisis worldwide. So, it's with failure comes, going deep. And those of you that have played sports will know what that means. It's tough, but if you get through it, you're always better off. So, Alex, thanks for the great question. Great. I think I got everybody. If I missed your question, go ahead and type it in there. But I think I got everybody.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ahmad. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights in sustainability and entrepreneurship and the amazing strides that the Hult Prize is taking. And I would also love to thank everyone for tuning in. Hopefully this has offered you a bit of inspiration to perhaps imagine yourself somehow involved in this amazing initiative. And again, if you're interested in the Clinton Scholars, please contact your admissions officer and apply by March 13th for all of our candidates living in the U.S. and in Canada. So thank you everyone again for tuning in. Thank you, Ahmad, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.